Hey guys, it's about mid-May right now and it's about time to start the garden. You can see here the plots are nice and tilled. They're much bigger. I recently put in a ton of compost and tilled this really well. I do have a secret weapon this year. We head over to the tractor here. Alright, so we're over here by the tractor. You can see on the back we've got a new attachment. So I decided to get a little bit serious this year and buy a nice tiller. This is a bit older, but it's about 60 inch and it makes quick work out of tilling the garden. Now I brought in a bunch of compost again this year. And we can see here where I'm just tilling it into the garden. Multiple passes, trying to break everything up. Mix it really well. Every year this soil keeps getting better and better, so I'm just going to keep adding and keep testing it and see what else it needs, and eventually I'll have some real good soil. So if you look here, we pulled up a lot more rocks over the winter, plus tilling a little bit wider and a little bit deeper. So these plots are much bigger than before. This one is about 8 feet wide. This one's a little over 6. And this one here, another maybe 8 or 10 feet. So nice wide plots, lots of room for planting. Down on the bottom of the hill, where I usually have the 2 small plots that I put pumpkins and watermelon. It was a little tricky to till this with the tractor, such small plots, so I just ran right across and just made one long one. So that'll give me a little more options for stuff down on the bottom of the hill here. I've got a nice pile of compost to put on top later. We'll see. So the reason why I wanted to film today is I was just down here and looking at the apple trees. And this is the tree that we had the 1 apple on last year. And if you look, this thing is really blooming nice. So I'm not sure if this has fruit every year, because it did have one last year, but if it does, I'm expecting a lot of apples from this if they all survive. But if history has anything to say, I'll be surprised if any grow. The pear tree isn't doing much yet this year, which I'm a little bit nervous about. I see a few little leaves, and if I remember last year, some of the branches didn't have leaves, and if you look, some of them are looking a little more white, and the ends look a little darker. So I don't know if that's more dead branches and only the brown branches are alive. So I'm gonna have to look into this more. I'm not sure what's going on with this tree. The first year it did really well, but every other year now, not so much. So I'm just gonna head over to my honeycrisp tree. And we've got a good amount of blossoms on this one too. Not as much as the Macintosh, but still a good amount, which I think is quite positive. I've really been giving these a lot of fertilizer, a lot of compost, give them a head start. Now I've got this little guy, which I can't remember if it's a Delicious or a Cortland. I really can't remember, but there's no blossoms at all on this one. So I think it's gonna have to wait another year or 2, but we'll see. So yeah, this is just a quick little update. Let's get this garden started. Okay, so I started by planting my potatoes. I planted 3 kinds of potatoes. Yukon Gold, which is like a big yellow potato, russets for French fries, and some red potatoes. I put some little stakes this time so that I don't walk on the plants when they're small. And of course I watered everything down good. So now I'm planting some carrots and corn, and I'm trying a technique that's a little bit different that I saw online. I start by taking a pole and just poking little holes into the ground where I want to put my seeds. Then I use a piece of PVC pipe and drop the seed down the pipe, and it slides right down into the hole where I want to put it. This really saved my back, saved my knees this year, and helped me get the seeds exactly where I wanted them rather than just a trench where I hope that they fall in the right spot. And finally here I'm planting lettuce, cucumbers, and green beans. I'm out in the garden and I figured it was time for an update. It's now the 3rd week of June, so I'm fairly late planting, but not as late as last year or the year before. And I've got a couple of rows planted here. I've got some potatoes, and it's been about 2 weeks that I've had these planted. And I was just coming through today and doing some watering, and I can see that some of those are starting to sprout. So that's actually quite quickly, I think quicker than usual. And we had about a week straight, almost 2 weeks of like lots of rain. So this ground is very soaked. The grass is growing like crazy. The weeds are growing like crazy. I've got 2 more plots here planted. This one here, I did corn and carrots. And every year with the corn and carrots, I have trouble with the seeds not germinating. They dry out. I don't water it enough. So I had this covered the first couple of days until the big rain came. It's been uncovered last week in the rain. And now we have 30 degrees today. It's going to be hot for a couple of more days. So I put the tarp on top of it again. So we're going to see how that works this year. This plot here, I put in lettuce, cucumbers, and beans, I believe. I can't remember exactly. I wrote it down somewhere. So nothing germinating yet. So I'm on a mission to try my best to keep this wet and not drying out. I'm gonna have to get maybe more tarps, but for now it's just gonna be soaking it. Still nothing here at the back. I'm not sure what I'm gonna put there. Still lots I haven't planted, but I'm not in a huge rush. This year I'm realizing that I made it more of a chore than a hobby, so I'm not rushing myself. Things grow great, but no use killing myself just to get my garden going. The peach tree, if I look at it, there's some leaves on here, but for some reason I've got branches that look fairly healthy, but no leaves on them. And if you look at the trunk, it's got all these little dots on it, so I'm not sure what's going on with this tree. I'm gonna have to do a little more research and see if there's something it's missing or something that is in the soil that it doesn't like. But the first year this thing sprouted really nice, lots of leaves. We even had peaches that eventually fell off, but every year since it's getting bigger, but not all the branches have leaves. So there's definitely something going on there. So last week, or maybe the week before, we had a ton of blossoms on this apple tree. And if I look, we have lots of little baby apples starting. So there's going to be a lot of apples on here. So I'm not going to count my chickens before they hatch, but this could be a good year for apples. My main worry is moths and worms. So I've got some little covers that I'm going to put on those eventually. And hopefully I don't talk about that too much in each one of these updates. If I go over the honeycrisp, same thing. We had some blossoms. It looks like baby apples may be starting, but I'm not gonna count on those just yet. They could still shrivel up, but there may be a few honeycrisp on there after all, so we'll keep an eye on that. And then this one was a delicious or something, and I think it's still much too young to be fruiting yet, so we'll keep an eye on that one. Now, rhubarb. We know the story with the rhubarb. It grows great in the early summer, dies off when it gets hot. I can see it's got that big stalk with the seeds that it had a few years ago. So it looks to me like it's bigger and healthier than any other year. I think these leaves could still get bigger. I'm not going to pick it again. I didn't pick it at all last year, just the first year. I want it to really get big and healthy. The bottom plot here, nothing planted yet. Every year I put pumpkin and watermelon down here. It never does great, but a lot more compost in there this year. So I may plant it there again. I know you have to rotate your crops, but I think with the amount of new compost I put in there that there shouldn't be anything it's lacking. So we'll at least do another year there. The strawberry patch is a huge weed patch, and it's out of control. I really don't know what to do with this other than, I don't know, tilling it and starting over with some new plants. But I planted a ton of strawberries, a lot of seeds. I even put some about 2 weeks ago too, to see if they can get some last minute plants in there. We'll see how it produces strawberries even with the weeds. If it gets enough sun and it produces enough fruit and it has a little bit of camouflage against the animals, maybe that'll be all right. But only one way to find out. A lot of nice tall plants here, so I'm happy with that. I see lots of flowers. I see some berries starting there. Got one or two there, so should have a pretty good turnout. Got my colored rocks ready to go to distract the birds. Grapes are finally growing in, and one thing I noticed this year is the old stalks are actually growing new leaves, which I had no idea. I think I had cut out the old ones all previous years, so now I'm just leaving those, and we'll see if that helps it get any stronger. Raspberries are a little bigger than last year, but not nearly as tall as the first year, so maybe they're not done growing yet. We'll see. Blueberries are about the same height as last year, maybe a little taller. This guy here looks to be about 16 or 18 inches tall. I see some flowers on there, so hopefully some berries to come, and hopefully the birds don't eat them. So that's about it for this update. We're gonna see if I can get some more stuff planted and see how this summer goes. Hey guys, time for a little update. It's the second week of July. Well, just past the second week. It's the weekend now. And I figured it was time for a little update. I've been really busy with work, which is the typical story when it comes to gardening for me. This is the busy time of year at work. Story of this year is pests again, potato bugs especially. Last year I got those bugs very late in the year, probably about midway through. This year, just from the get-go, they're after these things like crazy. I'm out here every day or every second day. We've had some crazy weather. We've had tons of rain, and any day that it wasn't raining torrentially, then we had 40-degree heat, which was just crazy. So it's either been too wet or too hot to work out in the garden. But nonetheless, I keep coming out here. I've got thousands and thousands of eggs. I've got thousands of larvae and bugs. I'd say at least 100 or more per day, and they keep coming back. So obviously the adults are flying in. I'm missing some eggs, they're hatching, but every day I go through, there's some plants that are pretty much pest free right now, and there's others that are pretty dwindling because they keep getting attacked. But I keep going at them, and then I'll assess at the end of the year to see if I'm going to skip a year or if I want to try some sort of pesticide. But I love growing potatoes. It's one of my favorite plants, but I can't keep taking this much time. I'm spending more time on bugs than I am weeds. But nonetheless, this is what's going on. I planted a ton of corn seeds this year. I have more than last year, it looks like, but still having a hard time with all the seeds germinating. My neighbor down the road, he has beautiful corn every year. I may ask him what his secret is. Maybe I need to start planting more than one seed per hole, and that might increase the odds of everyone going. So I want them to be nice and tight so that they can pollinate each other. But here's what's going on there. A couple of them are about 1.5 feet tall. The rest are probably about 10 inches or so. So it looks like a good amount compared to last year. I had some animals come through and break a few stalks off. So I set up these little CDs and the little spinny thing. So I haven't tried any like visual deterrents like scarecrows or anything before, but something a little bit different this year. Slugs were really bad earlier a couple of weeks ago. With all the rain we were getting, slugs were everywhere, and I thought for sure they were going to be after my beans and tearing everything down, but so far so good. Here's the corn. I can see, or sorry, here's the carrots. I can see there's a lot of little flowers popping up there, or little leaves, so we should have a decent harvest of carrots as usual. That's one of my staples. Here I just threw in a bunch of green pepper seeds, so I'm not really expecting anything to happen. These were picked from a green pepper. They were given to me by my sister. I waited a little bit too long, and there was a little bit of mold in the container that had started, so I planted them anyway. I figured I'd see what happened. I also threw a bag of store-bought seeds in there too. I'm not seeing anything sprout yet, but they're usually a slow one for me. I also threw in just a dollar store peat moss filled container of tomato seeds here, and I've yet to see anything pop up, so I'm not expecting tomatoes this year either. I usually get some from my girlfriend's aunt, but this year I've just been too busy. I haven't gone over there, so nothing from them yet. Here we have the green beans. They're moving up there nicely. I want to build a nice little trellis. Well, I say nice, I just want to build a sort of trellis here so that these guys can grow up nice and tall. But again, haven't gotten to that yet. I have some lumber to do that. Here we have our cucumbers. Still looking really small. I don't know what's missing in my soil compared to the first year. I had the shittiest soil the first year and the biggest harvest of cucumbers. But the plants are looking better than last year anyway. They seem to get a slow start, so I've really got to figure out what's missing for cucumbers. If any of you guys have an idea, let me know. And then when we get down here, this is lettuce, and I've got to go through and get rid of the weeds, but we've got quite a few lettuce growing here. This one here was the ribbon seeds, so I can see fewer popping up with the ribbon than the ones that I just planted by hand. And even these, I just put one single seed per hole, and they seem to be growing, so happy with that. So let's head down, take a look at the trees. So I'll start at the end and go to the right there. So this is the newest one. I believe it's a Red Delicious, but I can't remember. Obviously nothing gonna grow on that yet, but at least the leaves are looking really nice and healthy, so I'm glad for that. Here we have the Honeycrisp, and it's got a lot of apples on it. I'm really happy about that. I dusted it early on with some diatomaceous earth. The rains washed all that off, so I really have to get some more on there before some bugs get in there. I forget what type of moth it is and when they come, but I just don't want worms in those apples, so it's gonna get in the dusting soon. And the Macintosh, which is really, I think I may have mentioned this already, growing nice. It's got a nice 2-inch thick trunk now. And here, quite a few apples. These apples are already not looking nice. It looks like something's already gotten into them. You can see some brown stuff on there. I'm not sure what that is. I may have to Google that, but that's a little disappointing to find now. Like I said, I just get busy with work, and the garden doesn't get the attention it needs, but at least the tree is nice and tall, healthy looking. It's getting strong. So if I can get the insects under control, then we should have some nice apples. But yeah, there's definitely some black stuff on there, which is probably from the moths burrowing their worms in there, but I'll have to Google that. So the peach tree I'm really happy with. I mentioned before that it didn't seem to be growing as many leaves, and the branches didn't look so good, but look how full it is now. So it really kicked in. It looks like it's grown about almost 2 feet taller. You can see like the greenish branches there, so it grew about 2 feet, that one stem. So it really kicked in late, but did kick in. I see something black on here. I don't know what that is. It looks like a pile of eggs. So we're gonna destroy that before something grows there. But yeah, I'm happy with the peach tree. Still no fruit since that first year, but at least if I can get a healthy tree, that's a start, and we can find out what's missing for fruit. All right, so the bottom garden here, I mentioned that now is just one long strip and not two separate ones. I decided to go with a few different things here. We have, at this end is supposed to be watermelon. I'm only seeing weeds so far. Oh, I see a couple little sprouts there. That could be watermelon or it could be pumpkin, I forget, but I believe this is watermelon. Got a lot of plants out there that look like weeds, but they also look like sunflower seeds, or sorry, sunflowers. But I know I planted sunflowers in the middle here, but I don't know how the seeds would have gotten all the way over there. So this whole middle section's supposed to be sunflowers, and I'm not seeing much other than weeds. And oh, I guess that looks like a healthy plant there, and one over there, and more strong weeds, and I guess that looks like a sunflower. But yeah, definitely lots of weeds. Pumpkins, these are starting to sprout out here. So this is from about midway here over is like a jack-o'-lantern style pumpkin, and then over here on the left I planted jumbo pumpkins. So we'll see what happens there. And then I'm not sure why, but this looks to me like watermelon, so I'm not sure how that ended up over there, other than maybe I dropped some seeds while I was walking around, because they didn't purposely plant those here. And this is what I'm looking for back over here. So we'll see if we can find something similar to that at this end. Nope, so nothing over here. It's just interesting. This is all the same soil. It's all got the same amount of compost mixed in, but it's just surprising. Maybe there's something in the pH, but nothing's growing on that end. All right, so here's our typical midsummer rhubarb death. So grew this nice tall stalk with seeds on it, but then again with the heat and stuff, there's no shade back here, and I think that's what's hurting it. It kind of wilts down later in the year. Here we got the strawberry patch, but we'll come back to that. So the grapes are really growing up nice and tall, nice big leaves. The vines are reaching out everywhere, and I think I'm going to have to build onto this or something a little bit bigger for it to climb, because it really wants to spread, and seems to be getting nice and strong. Still no sign of grapes yet, but I imagine that's going to take a few more years. Raspberry plants are taller than last year, but still not as big as that first year. They're maybe about 2.5 feet tall. There's not very many berries on there. And then the blueberries are just in this massive weeds here. And I can see one of the bushes is now as tall as the raspberries, so it's closing on at 2 feet tall. Got some nice big berries on it. I put the CD over here to hopefully scare the birds away, because those are gonna be stolen so quickly. You can see more berries there, and one's just starting to turn blue. So there's a little bit of berries in here and some smaller plants. I'm hoping that these weeds aren't gonna choke out the blueberry plants, but it's really tight in there, and I'd have to remove all those by hand, and it's just low on my priority list right now. So this big mass of weeds is my strawberry patch. I expanded it this year, and we're really gonna have to dig for strawberries, which I kind of didn't mind this because it was going to keep the birds away. So I can see here, I can find strawberry plants there. I'm hoping the strawberries still get enough sunlight, but there should be strawberries in here. I can see the bigger plant right there, but unless an animal is in here, it does look like something was matted down there, so maybe an animal did get in here and take some of the strawberries. But let me take a peek just in case. There might even be an animal living in here. Alright, so there we've got strawberry, and it looks like it's being starting to rot. Just gonna leave that one there for seeds for next year. And not seeing a whole lot, but there should be lots of strawberries in here. I saw plenty of white ones earlier, but like I said, the way this is kind of matted down, it looks to me like an animal is in here, maybe eating some of these strawberries. Oh, here's one. So, got one right here. Pull that out. So, that's a really nice looking strawberry there. I'm going to give that a little wipe and wash it off because I was just killing bugs with this hand. And have a little taste. I imagine these are really good strawberries. I'm not going to pick them quite yet because we have some store-bought ones inside, but I might grab another one here that I just spotted. Oh wow, there's a couple. So I've got one here and one down here. Oh, looks like something was eating that one. So a couple here. I'm going to toss this one back in for seeds. But yeah, there's a couple of strawberries here. I'm really happy with how big they look. They look real juicy. So I'm gonna head inside and clean those up and give them a taste. All right, so that's it for this update. Again, the big story is bugs and something missing in the soil. So not much different than last year. So we'll see how the next few weeks goes. All right, so I'm just out in the garden here tonight after work. It's a nice night. It was really hot. There's no mosquitoes out here, but I am getting eaten by some black flies. They got me on the arm there. I just wanted to talk about a few things I did. I built this ugly looking structure here with some rope and some wood to allow those green beans to climb up, and I'm kind of just coaxing them along with some string. So that's happening now. They're starting to get tall and reaching out. And the Macintosh apples I mentioned the other day were a bit of a write-off because it looks like they already have some eggs planted in them. So I'm going to pick all those and throw them out and let the tree itself have all the energy to grow. And to save the Honeycrisp, I decided to put some of these little bags around all the apples. It's kind of silly, but I don't have too many yet. So we'll at least give it a shot for this year. We'll see if that'll keep the moths away, and we'll see if the apples can grow with these on them. I've seen people using them online, so I figured I'd give them a shot. It won't be a good option, I think, when the tree gets bigger and there's a lot more apples, but figured I'd give it a shot for tonight, and we'll see what happens this year. But I think long term, I'm gonna have to start looking at some pesticides or some sort of natural pesticide. I know those of you in the Garden Geeks group are talking about neem oil and some other stuff, so I'm gonna have to look at that. Potato bugs were a big pain today again, but I put some gloves on. I picked off all the big larvae that I could. The small ones, I just started squishing them, and that sure cut down the population quite a bit. So I'm pretty happy with where we are now. There was a lot less tonight, so I don't know what's going on, if they're dwindling off or if I'm just managing to maintain it, but that's the update for tonight. So we'll keep things growing. All right, so now it's the end of July. Let's take a little peek here. August tomorrow, so we'll see how the garden's doing. So first off, corn is starting to sprout its little pollen things at the top, so that's looking pretty good. Just walk up and see how tall it is. So I can see that this is about shoulder height right now, so that's not too bad. That's about the height I usually get. My neighbors might be a little bit taller, but I'm happy with that for now. A lot of these little guys didn't get big enough, so something happened between here and here. Maybe some of the nutrients didn't get mixed right. Not exactly sure what's going on there. I also plan on planting this a lot denser next year. I spread the seeds out just a little. I tried to go a lot closer, but I'm thinking I need to just cover this thing with seeds so that I get it nice and dense and more likely to get more plants growing. So potato bugs, I've got these guys under control. I haven't gone down here in 2 days, so there's probably some in here. Just going to take a quick scan, but I am definitely keeping up and actually getting ahead of them. By the time they get big enough that I see them, I pick them off, so that is well under control. Some of the plants, like those guys way up there, are massive. Some of these guys, and some are still little. I think they did get eaten quite a bit from the beginning, but happy with how those are going. I'm hoping I didn't trample through there too much, picking the bugs off. I tried to space them enough and have a decent little row to walk through. Here's the surprise. I'm not sure if I mentioned this already, but I planted a strip of dollar store tomatoes. It was just a little can with peat moss that you're supposed to add water to. I unrolled the strip and I buried it, and I've actually got tomato plants right from the seed in here. So really happy with that. I don't know if they're going to grow big enough to actually produce August starting tomorrow, but we'll see. It's always fun to see if things will grow. Here we have the peppers. There's absolutely nothing going on but weeds, so I'm probably going to go through and till this later. So it doesn't look like anything grew, and I'm not surprised. I left those seeds way too long and they kind of molded over, so I should have been a little quicker with that. Here we have a ton of weeds and carrots, and you know what, I've kind of given up on the weeds. As much as I hate them, they really help keep the soil moist, so I've got more than enough nutrients for them all. I'm just hoping that they don't starve out some of my vegetables, so we're going to see if they really affect the carrots in that way. But carrots are in there, so they're sharing space with all these weeds. Some of the big ones I'll go through and pull out, but the bulk of them I'm just leaving them. So let's head around the corn here and see what's going on with lettuce. Not the yield I had last year with lettuce. Some of these smaller heads are starting to come up, but they're still not very big. I've got one big one there that's pretty close to being picked, and the one next to it is looking pretty good as well. So I'm just going to leave them. A couple of iceberg lettuce starting. That one's starting to curl back there, but still a long ways to go. These are still really small, so we'll see. I did plant really late, so I'm not that surprised. Cucumber, the plants are really small again like last year. Doing a little bit better, I think. I mean, it's only been a few weeks they've been in. This guy here is starting to spread out a little bit, so that's not looking too bad, but really not like that first year. So I'm gonna figure out what's going on here. And now beans are starting to climb my little trellis thing. They're still making their way across, but that one there is probably about 3 feet high, so I'm gonna let these guys go a little longer. This one's reaching out looking for something, so when it gets a little longer, I'm gonna spread them out that way. So we should have a good harvest of beans, so hopefully enough that I can pickle some. I'm just gonna peek in on the apples here. So these guys are all covered up. Give it a little squeeze. That's looking to be about 2 inches or so. So I'm hoping these are gonna be safe from all the moths and stuff. I can see little worms trying to get in there. Get out of here, you. So I need to I hope these actually stay safe. They're not tied super tight. I didn't want to affect the apple at all. I can see a little caterpillar up here. We're gonna knock him off. I don't want any of those. So I'm hoping none of those got in there, but really stubborn bugs. Take a little peek around here, make sure there's no more. See a ladybug up there. So yeah, I'm hoping that is going to be it for those bugs and I can keep them out. Just this weekend I picked all the Macintosh apples. Just about every one was infected by whatever worm eggs those are. So I decided to pick them and give a little more energy to the tree so it can get stronger. Still nothing going on here in the peaches other than just tons of shoots. Look at these things. Like, this was the tree that I checked out in the spring, and it had so many branches with no leaves, and you can still see those there. But out of those, they shot out like 2.5 feet. Like, I don't understand. This tree was only about 5 feet tall, maybe 5.5 feet, and now way up there, that's close to 10 feet. Like, it's really shot up there. Maybe 8 feet. Yeah, 8 or 9 feet. Like, it's really shot up in that one spot there. It's crazy. So anyway, I'm happy with that. Let's take a look down here at the bottom. So I've been trying to give some water down here to the watermelon. It's a little dry in this area. I finally have some weeds moving in, so hopefully that'll keep it moist. My sunflowers are about 2 feet tall now, so still a long ways to go. The weeds are so tall. We've had so much rain, it's wild. That's another big one there. Finally, some pumpkins are getting some bigger leaves. These guys are about 8 inches in diameter. Some bigger ones here. I had some really big ones last year, so this patch here seems to be doing well. Lots of nutrients, lots of water. But the giant pumpkins that I planted here are kind of dwindling, so I'm guessing there's not as much nutrients here at the end of the garden. Maybe by the time the compost got spread out here, it's not as concentrated. The rhubarb is completely dead here. Again, like every year it wilts. I even ran the lawnmower through here. Like, I'm so tired of it. So anyway, that's gone. I've got all the strawberries here. I went through and picked the strawberries. I was lucky to find maybe 3 or 4, so actually less strawberries than last year. Not impressed. I think there's just way too much weeds here. So when this does die down at the end of the year, I'm going to pull out these wood blocks. I'm going to mow everything down here and try to figure out what I'm going to do for future. Grapes here are going all over the place. Every time I find some reaching out, I put them up there, but I've got to do something bigger and more permanent. Raspberries, I was starting to see some fruit on here the other day, but I'm not seeing anything now. Looks like everything sort of died off. So I don't know if I missed the window for raspberries. Thought it was later than that. Blueberries here, we got some that are starting to turn. Still a little purple. I'm surprised that the birds haven't gotten these yet. I put these little CDs up to scare them away. Maybe it's working. I've got 3 new plants that I just put in. So these were on sale at Costco. Really good price for nice plants. So I've got those in there. So we've got 7 plants total. So hopefully these will grow nice and tall and produce for years. So yeah, that's the update for now. August starting, so a late start by my standards. I would have liked to have started a little earlier, but with how busy I was with work, it's the best I can do. So we'll keep doing what we're doing and see what it looks like. Hey guys, second week of August and it's time for a little update. I'm coming down this morning. It's Saturday morning. I'm just gonna do my usual walkthrough looking for potato bugs. I haven't checked all week actually, but I've been kind of getting them under control and I don't expect too many. Looks like something's been in here. I don't know if maybe the neighbor's dog. Something's kind of trampled on that potato plant there and maybe dug something up. I'm not sure. yeah, something's definitely gone through here. There's a lot of plants trampled. I'm not seeing a whole lot of bugs right now, actually. Oh, there, see some really mature too, like pretty much adults. So I'm definitely gonna have to get those before they head down and burrow for next year. But oh geez, you know what? I completely forgot this week about the tomato plants, and luckily they're still growing. I don't think they'll get big enough to produce any tomatoes this year, but we'll wait and see. Lots of weeds. I decided this year not to go out of my way to get rid of weeds. They keep the soil moist, and I've got more than enough nutrients for everything. Oh, I got a little friend here. Let's still stop in and take a look at him. Nice little butterfly there. Just gonna enjoy him for a minute. All right, so this is somewhere in there, carrots. I hope this was a good decision, letting the weeds take over like this, because I can barely even see the carrot plants now. Hopefully they're in there. Oh, I can see a couple of leaves there. So hopefully that didn't affect the carrots too much. The corn here looks like it's doing its pollinating thing. I can see the pollen dropping down and the little hairs receiving it down there. I might break some of those off and shake them in to help germinate. They're now nice and tall now, so I'd say they're well over 6 feet tall, well over my head. That one might even be 6.5 feet. Some little guys too that just didn't get enough nutrients, I guess. Lettuce, I picked one of the lettuce already. They're much smaller than last year, so I think despite adding all that extra compost to the soil, because I expanded the garden a little bit more this year, maybe the nutrients weren't as concentrated, but they definitely aren't growing as much as last year. So that's interesting. Iceberg here is still quite small, so I think that romaine should be ready to pick soon enough. Cucumber plants still not doing great like that first year, but last year we had quite a few late in the year, so we'll see if that happens again. The beans are not climbing the structure like I thought they would. I got one of them there that's quite high, but I expected them to be growing and producing a lot faster. So I'm thinking maybe I need to bulk this up with some nutrients again, like I did 2 years ago. A lot of lime and fertilizer. Just gonna head down here and see what's going on with the pumpkins. I can see some of those pumpkin plants are finally leaving the garden area and stretching out. So these are nice and strong. These are the jack-o'-lantern, but those giant pumpkins just never did catch. So this edge of the garden is probably where the tractor ran a little bit further, tilling beyond where that really nutrient-rich soil was. So it's not, it's just growing pretty much into some mixed up clay. Sunflowers here, they're getting nice and tall. Something definitely went through here and trampled on all of this. So I'm not sure what that was. Something fairly big, obviously, to knock all of this down. So I'm not sure if that's the neighbor's dog that was running around, but I highly doubt it. Probably a bigger animal looking for something to eat, deer or something. And way over here is where the watermelon was, and for 2 weeks it's really not much bigger. So I'm really disappointed in how this garden's producing this year. Luckily the trees are nice and tall, nice and big. They're doing well. Head over and take a look at that apple tree. It looks like some sort of spider has moved in, or some sort of animal in it, or insect, and it put a big web up that killed all the put a web up that killed all the leaves. Oh, looks like it's full of worms. So I'm definitely gonna have to cut that out, take care of it. I see some of the apple coverings have come off. Some worms got in there. Hoping the rest are safe. Apples are still quite small. Oh well, this is a little bit disappointing to see. It's like one of the apple covers has come off with an apple. But I'm definitely going to get those worms out of there. Alright, well, I think that's about it for this update. Let's maybe go take a look at the berries down there. Not sure what to expect. You can see that grape tree is growing nice and tall. Alright, so blueberries. It looks like the birds might have gotten to these because there's nothing left on those bushes. A couple hidden there in the grass, but not much here either. So I think despite my little CD here, the birds figured out that it was safe to get those blueberries. Alright, well that's going to be it for this update. We'll check back at the end of the month and see what things look like. Hey guys, nice sunny September day. It's actually the 2nd of September, so Labor Day tomorrow. So long weekend. Just out in the garden now. I did a big mow back here. The grass has been really out of hand. We're getting so much rain. This is probably the 2nd day in a row with no rain, so it's been quite nice. I'm actually heading down into the garden to pull out some carrots for some soup. Let's just take a little walk around. As you can see, we're really overrun with weeds here. It's really choking everything. This corner here is where I had planted a little bit of green pepper, but nothing grew, so I just mowed it over. I've still got those little tomato plants growing. A couple of little flowers on them, but I'm not expecting to get anything out of that. But I may clean up some of the weeds around here and see if they have a chance, although it's getting kind of late in the year. In my mowing, I ran over my sprinkler and messed that up, so that was pretty dumb. But as you can see, the weeds were just so dense that I couldn't even see where that thing was. This is where carrots are supposed to be, and I really think that the weeds just choked them out, and I'm not really expecting anything in here, but I'm hoping that deep down the carrots kept growing. Now down here is where I had watermelon and sunflowers, and you can see half of this garden, nothing was growing but weeds. I've got some nice tall sunflowers growing there, but I just mowed over all of this just because it was out of hand. Got some pumpkin stretching out here. I haven't been going through and looking for females and trying to pollinate them, but I'll probably start doing that this week. You can see here one pumpkin growing, so there's probably a couple in there, but I'm going to come out in the mornings like I have done before and find any females and try to pollinate those in the mornings. But that's about it. There's a couple of little plants here that are stretched out. Apples, I took all the little covers off of the apples. I had a big nest here of worms and stuff that were growing there. I pulled all that off and cleaned it up, and I've gone through and pulled out any lingering caterpillars or worms that were around there. Most of these apples look quite good. I picked through any bad ones that looked like something might have been living in them. There's still a couple here with a couple of holes that may have worms, but we're going to wait until these are good enough to pick, and we'll see what's left and throw out any that aren't good. You can see here a bird was picking at this one. I'll leave it there in case it comes back so it won't pick at the others. Got a couple on the ground here too. Something was chewing on that one. So nice big apples. They're looking really good. Like that, look at the size of that compared to my hand. That's something you'd find in stores. These are Honeycrisp, so they will get a little bit bigger, but I'd say most of those are ready to pick and eat. But yeah, they're doing quite well. I'm not sure if I mentioned this in the last video or not, but this peach tree that I thought wasn't doing well this year, with no leaves on the branches, is massive. Right now, it is probably as tall as that Honeycrisp tree. Honeycrisp is probably close to 10 feet. So this guy here is at least 9 feet, if not close to 10 itself. So something happened with this tree. It just really kicked in. There's so much new growth. Like, look at all these light colored branches. These just came out of nowhere. So it must just bloom later. Even this branch is looking thicker than it did earlier this year. So not sure what kicked in, but really happy with how big it is and how good it's doing. We're almost at the point now I may have to start trimming some of these trees back, because I don't want them to get too tall that I can't reach the apples without too big a ladder. Alright, so back down to the garden. I'm expecting green beans anytime now. I can see some flowers on there, so these should be growing anytime. And with how many plants there are, I'm expecting quite a few. Actually, I can see some small ones growing now, so excited about that. Actually, I can see some on the other side, so I may pick some of those for our soup today. And in this big mess of weeds is cucumber plants, and I'm expecting some cucumbers. I'm just hoping that the bees can get through this crabgrass. It's so thick and dense that I'm not sure if the bees are able to get to the flowers to pollinate. If I walk along here where the lettuce was, you can see some romaine there, really like overshooting and way too tall. I had some iceberg lettuce in here somewhere, but the weeds have just taken over and overrun everything. And here we have corn. So far I've had some deer or something trampling through here, but it doesn't look like they've eaten any of the corn yet, nor have the crows. So I can see this is still a little on the small side, so it's got some time still to grow before getting picked. But I see some in the stores. They're saying local corn, so it's almost that time. This guy here is nice and big. Got a couple more here. Nice big one here. Oh yeah, that one's looking almost big enough to pick, so we'll give it a little while longer. They don't quite feel full enough. And again, no pesticides this year, so who knows what's inside. Nice big one here. So hopefully the insects are staying out of it. So yeah, that's it for this little update. The berries are all done. Rhubarb was done and died off, and I mowed over it, so we'll see if it comes back next year after the mess that I made. The strawberries, I'm gonna mow over that as well, because earlier this year I had left the weeds. There was a lot of dead material down on the ground when the new strawberries came out, so it was hard to tell what was good and what wasn't. So I'm going to mow it very low, and we'll see if the strawberries come back nonetheless. So yeah, potato bugs are definitely under control. I haven't picked any in a few weeks, and I haven't seen any either, so I think I got the population under control, and if there is some, they're eating other people's crops and not mine, so that's nice to see. And it looks like the plants are starting to die off, so these can be picked at any time, but I usually like to pick closer to October, so we'll see later this month. So yeah, that's the update for the second day of September. So we'll see if we get anything good out of here. I've really been neglecting the garden as usual, but I guess this is as good as I'm going to get for the amount of effort I'm putting in. So a little harvest from this morning. I've got a nice basket of green beans and 2 of these Honeycrisp apples. Hey guys, mid-September now, and I'm out in the garden. Hurricane Fiona passed through here as a post-tropical storm about a week ago, And the biggest effect I had here, the corn is still standing, but my green beans, the string broke and part of them have fallen down. So I'm just out now. I'm gonna pick whatever green beans I can get out of that. And or about 2 weeks ago, I picked a bunch of green beans and pickled them. Made some nice spicy pickled green beans. So I'm gonna jar these up just for soups and stews. So we're gonna take another look around here. I've got cucumber plants that are flowering like crazy. There was a lot of bees out here this morning. I just mowed the lawn and a lot more bees than I expected, but for some reason the cucumber doesn't seem to be pollinating. They're full of flowers everywhere, and I haven't gone through here today, but I went through the other day and I didn't see a single cucumber yet, which I find a little odd. So maybe I don't know how these flowers pollinate, if there's males and females or not, but maybe they're all male, all female, something like that. So I mowed through a spot here where the lettuce was. The lettuce was done. You can see everything is just taken over with all this crabgrass. It's been such a mess. Corn. Some of these look quite full, but when I squeeze them, I'm not 100% sure that they're full and ready to eat. Deer have been through here quite a bit, and the birds, but I have some pretty nice looking cobs there. So I'm going to pick these soon enough and open them up and see if they're just full of bugs or if there's actually corn in there. Now a few weeks ago we needed some carrots for some stew, so I went through this whole mess of weeds here and found some carrots. Unfortunately, the carrots had to compete for sun with the weeds, so they actually grew really long stalks and leaves, but I don't think they got as much sun as they needed, so the carrots are really small. So I'm gonna have to dig through here. They were kind of tricky to find too, because the plants are really long, so I would find some flowers or leaves and I would follow them back maybe 2 feet to the point where the carrot was, and I'd pull it out. So I'm gonna go through here soon enough, maybe next weekend, and pick all these carrots. Here we've got tomato plants, the dollar store tomato plants. They're actually starting to grow some little tomatoes. They actually look like little Romas right now because they're kind of long. I don't know what kind I planted there, but surprisingly they're growing, which pretty surprising for just seeds that went directly into the ground. The potato plants, as you can see, are pretty much dying off now, so those will be ready to pick soon. So maybe another week or two I'll pick those. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to store those over the winter. And down at the bottom here, I picked our last 2 apples recently, so apples are all done. I'm just really happy with how healthy these trees look, especially that peach tree. It's looking really good. Our sunflowers here are finally open, nice and tall. That tallest one there I'd say is close to 9 feet. So something's been around knocking stuff down again. Pumpkins here, finally have some pumpkins growing. If I take a peek down here, we can see one right there, and 2, and a third over in the end there. So pumpkins are starting. I'm really disappointed that the giant pumpkins I was hoping to grow, the plants don't seem to have grown at all. It's all the normal jack-o'-lantern ones that are, and of course the watermelon did nothing. So yeah, that's about it for this update here. Like I said, it's mid-September, going into the 3rd week, so we'll see what the next few weeks looks like. Well, I guess there's more green beans than I thought there would be. This is the 2nd time I picked them, and I've got this full bin. I'm going to empty this off in the sink and go back for more. Now it's bin number 2, and I still have this whole area to go through, so I might be able to fill another one. So that makes almost 3 full bins. So that's a pretty good haul, I think, for this year. Now I'm going to jar these up, and we're going to use these for soups and stews, and should be good. Alright, so it's now mid-October. I'm busy with other projects. This little fountain here, you'll see a video coming up on that. But I've been neglecting the garden quite a bit. It's all shut down. I picked the corn a couple of weeks ago, and the only thing left in here now is carrots and potatoes. I'm not going to wait as late as last year where everything was freezing as I was taking out, but the weather is starting to get a little cooler. Still t-shirt days, but I've got a sweater today. It's a little chilly. We're just going to take a little walk down here. The little tomatoes did not grow big enough to really do anything. You can see them here. They're all about the size of maybe big grapes, but I'm still impressed that that grew just with that little dollar store planter. Leaves are starting to fall everywhere. We picked the pumpkins the other day. I think we had 3. So this is pretty much dead here. I mean, a little bit still trying to grow, but we're not going to get anything from that. So yeah, everything is pretty much done for the season. I'm going to start cleaning up and get ready to till all this stuff. There's my nemesis, the crabgrass. Oh my god, this stuff and its little seeds. I think I'm going to be dealing with that forever. But yeah, this is pretty much it for the garden this year. I'm going to dig up those potatoes, and after that we're going to shut things down. Here we have 2 of our pumpkins. Not very big this year, despite everything I planted. And here's my 3rd pumpkin, the one on the right, the little guy. Hope someday I'll have big ones like the one on the left. Well, it's the last week of October. We got Halloween just a couple of days away. We actually have a beautiful Saturday. It's 20 degrees. I'm going to take a break from my backyard project and get all these potatoes dug up. And if I have enough time, I'm going to look at the carrots, which I'm not expecting a whole lot from the carrots. But potatoes, I think we should get a good amount. So I'm going to start digging. Okay, so I've got everything picked. So I've got a nice little pile there of red, pile here of russet, and here some yellow. And I did manage to find a little bit of carrots. I'm not surprised that that's all there was, and they were really small. They really got choked out by the weeds this year. But potatoes weren't so bad. This is about what I expected I would get. It was a little more difficult to find than I thought it would be. I waited a little too long, and some of the plants had wilted, and the weeds had covered them up, so I had to kind of feel around for them. And there's probably still some out there, but I got the bulk of them, so pretty happy with this. I'm just letting them air out a little bit so that some of the dirt comes off easier. Trying something different this year. I'm not going to wash them before storing, so I'm storing them unwashed, and we'll see how that works. Well, that's a wrap for this year. Everything's going to get a nice good till just before winter, mix everything up, and we're going to till again in the spring. Thanks for following along in this journey. We're still learning as we go, but hopefully every year we get a little bit better. As always, if you have any advice for me, some tips, some tricks, please feel free to comment below. I appreciate all your comments. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.